What's good? How y'all doing this morning? Welcome back to the Don's Favorite. It's your boy, the Don, and I'm here to talk about Brandon Staley, the defensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams. He is a hot commodity to become a head coach in the league. But hey, I got a special person, special guest with me right now. Joseph McAtee. How you doing, man?
What's up, Don?
All right, let everybody know who you are, where they can find you.
Yeah, I used to be the managing editor at Tertial Times. We left and started our own brand over at Beyond the Horn. So follow us at BTH_Rams on Twitter or Instagram or whatever. And you can check up on the site. It's beyondthehorns.com is where we got our work now.
Okay. Hey, if y'all, y'all like the Rams. I know some people like Aaron Donald. A lot of ladies like Aaron Donald. So y'all go check his website out. All right.
Might have some old Todd Gurley history too. You never know.
Hey, we love Todd Gurley here in Georgia, former Bulldog. He doing his
Yep.
thing with us right now with the Falcons. So hey, y'all check him out, man. Also, hey, if y'all new to the channel, y'all already know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share this content out with other Atlanta sports fanatics, and hit us up in the comment section. As always, come holla at your hometown sports podcast. All right, now I told you guys I am the official head coach scouter for the Atlanta Falcons. Do not make no mistake about it. All right. All these other people out here trying to steal my swag, steal my sauce. I've been doing this since last year. Check my YouTube channel out. All right. Pound for pound, DBNR, all you guys that's trying to imitate what I'm doing, y'all need to go and stop it. Y'all have been warned. That's y'all first, last, and only warning. Stop stealing my content. Thank you. All right. That being said, Brandon Staley, he just arrived this offseason to the Rams. And, so how are y'all liking this guy so far? Because before y'all had Wade Phillips, y'all was spoiled with the great defensive minded head coach.
Sure.
Defensive minded defense coordinator, former head coach in the league. How's it going out? Well, how's it going for you guys right now with Brandon Staley?
Well, the defense is playing well, but when you've got Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald on the same side, it's hard not to come up with a decent defense. The results have been really good. The asterisk you'd have to put on that is that we've played the NFC East in all four of their teams in the first six games. So, when you're beating up on the Giants and Washington football team and the Eagles offense, I don't know that that's representative maybe of a defense in general and maybe just more specific outputs. But I don't think that you'd find anybody, Rams fans or media that's going to be very critical of the defense to this point. The question is going to be when you get after the bye and you get into the battles of the NFC West, we just played the 49ers. And when you get that return game, when you get the two against the Seahawks and an Arizona Cardinals team that's looking a lot better, I think that's going to give us a better sense, along with some of the other games like the Patriots that we got coming after the bye, a better sense of how this defense is going to operate since, like you said, this is the first year for Brandon Staley. The sample size is really small. We're going to learn a lot more about this defense once we get on the other side of that.
Yeah, because I agree. Y'all haven't really been battle tested yet, but hey, winnable games should be winnable games. And it's coming from a Falcons fan and the Falcons creator. We say winnable games, but 80% of the times we end up losing those games. So hey, just you got it. Players got to execute. Coaches got a game plan. You don't do either. You don't do both. You're going to take a L. That's just that simple. All right. So let's get into the coaching record for Brandon Staley real quick. All right. So he's 37 years old. So he's a young coach. Well, he's not that young because Cliff Kingsbury probably a little younger than him or whatnot, and Sean McVay as well. But he's 37 years old. Not too old. Not too young. Just a good age. He come from that Vic Fangio coaching tree, but a lot of people got to look at that as a branch because that Vic Fangio branch it comes from the Rex Ryan coaching tree.
Right.
Because Vic Fangio, he was I think he was a linebackers coach under Rex Ryan when Rex Ryan was a defense coordinator at Baltimore, and I love Rex Ryan. I love his defense. I know a lot of people, they're kind of critical of him, He's an outspoken person, and they say, well, he's so mediocre, but we can't ignore what he did with that Jets team in 09 and 2010 when he made them pretty much a top defensive unit in the league. So but Brandon Staley, he comes from he coached at Northern Illinois from 06-08 as a grad assistant. St. Thomas, 2009, he was the defensive line coach and the special teams coach. He was at Hutchinson for 2010-2011. He was an assistant head coach and defensive coordinator. He was at the University of Tennessee in 2012 as a grad assistant, and then he went to John Carroll University in 2013. He was a defensive coordinator and the secondary coach. That was his first time, getting. Well, he was at Hutchinson for a couple of years, but he went back into that role as a DC. And he went to James Madison in 2014. He was a decent defensive coordinator there and the linebackers coach. He went back to John Carroll in 2015-2016 as a defensive coordinator and secondary coach. So I guess he didn't like what he saw in James Madison or whatever, or he just got fired either or. And then he got his first cut in the NFL when Vic Fangio was the defensive coordinator for Chicago Bears. He was brought in 2017 to be the outside linebackers coach. That right there to me, kind of brought my attention to him. I know how Vic Fangio is. He's a great defensive minded coach. But when you bring a guy in, a young guy like Brandon Staley, and tell him, hey, he need to work with Mac, that right there tells a lot.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And everybody know Khalil Mack is like one of the best pass rushers in this league, outside linebacker in this league. All right. And Mack took a huge leap when he went to Chicago. Huge leap. He was good in Oakland, but he got way better when he was in Chicago. Coaching matters. All right. And then when Vic left to be the head coach in Denver, he brought along Brandon with him as well to be the outside linebackers coach out there. Mm-hmm. And y'all hired him this past January to be y'all DC when y'all decided not to bring back Wade Phillips.
Right.
So that's y'all coaching career of Brandon Staley right there in a nutshell. So y'all say y'all defense is playing well. Y'all played NFC East teams. But what else, like far as the pressers that you've seen so far with Brandon Staley, what makes you think that he'll be a good coach in the league?
Well, I think the first thing you'd say is that he's been able to adapt the defense to what the Rams' strengths are. And first off, that's a secondary. I know when you look at the defense, the two names that jump off the page are Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. But the secondary as a unit has been probably the best unit on the team, maybe along with the offensive line. A lot of talent back there. Everybody knows Jalen Ramsey, but Troy Hill has played really good cornerback for a couple of years for the Rams. Mm-hmm. And Darius Williams has really impressed in his first chance to start. Gotten a lot of work on the outside and has had two really good interceptions. And then the safeties, Taylor Rapp, John Johnson, who's probably in his final year with the Rams and going to hit free agency, but he might get a Pro Bowl nod this year. He probably missed out on one 2 years ago, got injured last year. Yeah. And then two younger guys, Jordan Fuller, rookie out of Ohio State, and Terrell Burgess out of Maryland. So a lot of talent in that secondary. I think that's probably the first thing you'd say is that he hasn't really pushed them into too much aggression out of the back. But I also don't know, when you talk about the NFC East and obviously the way the gameplay has gone, the Rams haven't really needed to chase points. And so it's not a situation where they're really having the front guys really heavy up front. A lot of Rams fans have maybe gotten a little annoyed by that when you got some softer coverage, but the results have been so good that even when you're letting up a couple yards, as long as you're getting off the field and giving your offense a chance to go win games, and obviously at 4-2, that's what they've done, you can't really complain too much. That'd be the first thing I'd say. Second would probably be that he hasn't been too heavy with the blitz. The Rams don't really have a good linebacker group, and the edge rushers, you mentioned Khalil Mack. We just don't have anybody on that level from our linebackers. And so
Yeah.
he hasn't really committed too much to the blitz to try to make up for that. I think that's been really interesting. A lot of people thought he might try to employ that, but the coverage has been so good. They haven't really had to do that. They've gotten some coverage sacks, but more than anything, you're just finding some frustration from opposing offenses that aren't finding ways to attack them downfield. And kind of what you saw that on the play where Kyle Allen got hurt from Washington, when quarterbacks are taking off, they're just trying to get what they can. And more often than not, that's not getting good results for opposing offenses. So not really having the blitz, but hasn't gone that route to try to make up for the lack of edge rush. Probably the last thing that I'd say is the star position that he has. He's got this position that he refers to as star, where he likes to put people in these positions. I shouldn't use the word positions. He likes to use them around the field in various different positions, and he's given that to Jalen Ramsey, where sometimes he's playing outside corner, sometimes he's in the nickel. We saw him guarding George Kittle sometimes at tight end this last week for the 49ers, and even in kind of an overhang safety role where he's kind of in between. And when you've got a guy like that, he compared him to LeBron James with the idea that just like LeBron, sometimes LeBron plays point, sometimes he's a shooting guard, sometimes he's a small forward. You play him at all three because A, you can, and B, because he's so good that he makes the most out of it. And that's what he's doing with Jalen Ramsey. He's playing as an outside corner, as a slot guy, and as a safety. I think that's pretty indicative of a defensive coordinator that maybe is fitting guys into his system and not making the system, or kind of the other way around. He's making guys who have that versatility as effective as he can, and not shoehorning them into predetermined roles. That's something that we kind of saw with Wade Phillips, and obviously for a guy with as much experience, he comes along and says, I have a system. Same thing with Greg Williams. I have a system. I need guys who fit that system. Brandon Staley's a little bit more flexible, where he's finding ways to use guys in maybe ways that weren't assumed beforehand. And to this point, obviously, it's getting good results.
Well, when you say versatility right there, that kind of like, that screams Dan Quinn to me, but here's the thing: as a coach, you should know your strength of your players. If you think they can play, if you think they can be versatile, and I'm not a big fan of the eye test that much. I go off a lot of analytics, but you have to still see film. You can't just not look at film. So I'm pretty sure he's looking at the film. He's looking at the practices, and he can say, okay, because like other than when you just brought up George Kittle, who else was going to cover George Kittle on y'all secondary? So that's a great point.
Yeah.
So because linebackers right now, y'all linebackers, they're not really that good. And then, y'all just lost Fowler. So really, y'all just generating pressure in the interior instead of the exterior of y'all defensive line.
Right.
So, I'm just, he's on my list of coaches, because I'm, you can't go wrong with a guy that's from the same coaching tree as Rex Ryan. You just can't.
Sure.
What's your thoughts on that?
Well, the two things I'd say is it's always difficult when you jump up from a coordinator to a head coaching position, because you're taking on a lot of different responsibilities, right? So when you look at guys like Steve Spagnuolo or Wade Phillips is a good example. Some of these guys struggle with the head coaching position, not because they're not good defensive minds the way that Brandon Staley is, but it's a different, right? Look at Sean McVay. Sean McVay, everybody understood, was a gifted offensive play caller. But the question was, how would he respond to having these extra duties as a head coach? And obviously he's responded well. I think the difficulty is trying to figure out what that jump means for certain guys. And a lot of times you don't know until they take on the role. Jason Garrett, for a guy that as comfortable as he was in a coordinator role, and clearly he's gone back to that, that was a guy that struggled once he got up to the head coaching position. And it's hard to assume that we know what it's going to be like for a guy like Brandon Staley, because a lot of times you don't know until they get there. That being said, yeah, Rex Ryan is obviously, and Vic Fangio similarly, the resume that they have in terms of what they can do for a defense is pretty well etched in stone. I think the question for a guy like Staley would be what he would do in terms of the jump to a head coach. The other question you got to have is, what would that mean for Atlanta's defense and y'all's roster versus what you're seeing from Chicago, from Denver, and now with the Rams? I don't know, how long it would take him to put together a roster that lets Brandon Staley do the things he wants to do as a head coach. The same way when you see some of these young head coaches around the league, when you talk about Kyle Shanahan and Cliff Kingsbury, Sean McVay, You don't always have a roster that allows you to do the things you want that matches up with your experience as a coach. Sometimes you've got to get some guys, and think about what Brandon Staley would have to do to hire somebody as an offensive coordinator, what that means for your offense, and in terms of the quarterback, and in terms of the offensive line. He may not have the guys to do the things that he wants immediately. It might take a couple. It might take, like Cliff Kingsbury, getting a Kyler Murray, or getting somebody that can operate what you want on that side of the ball. And when you talk about Brandon Staley in that star position, who's he going to get that's going to be able to fulfill that? I don't know that you have the guy, but that might be one of those things where, as a candidate for the defense, you would look at that and say, okay, if we get Brandon Staley as a head coach, he's going to want a guy to fill that position as importantly as whoever he wants for the quarterback position. Those would be the kind of things that maybe would make him stand out versus some of the other candidates.
All right. Now, you hit on the coordinators, because like you got some head coaches who like to micromanage, right?
Sure.
And
Sure.
I'm gonna be honest with you with Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn, I feel like he micromanaged a lot with the defense. You had a Marco Emmanuel, who was our defense coordinator for a while, for
Right.
a year or two, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then he wanted to call the defense last year, and it did not work. And
Right.
we had Raheem Morris, who was our receivers coach. I don't know why, but he was a defensive back coach at trade. But we moved him to the defensive coordinator position, and now he's our interim because we just fired Quinn.
Yep.
But my thing is the problem with the Atlanta Falcons has always been defense. It's never been offense. Matt Ryan is like an elite quarterback in this league. You got weapon. You have a Julio Jones. You have Calvin Ridley. We just got Hayden Hurst, who's doing well, and Todd Gurley. We also invested a lot in our offensive line to protect Matt Ryan, to try to be well on the run game. But like I tell people, the problem with this team has always been defense. All right. Brandon Staley come in, I feel like he won't have enough money in the cap to try to bring in a lot of free agents. So he'll have to wait a year or two to try to get people in the league, around the league to come and join the Falcons if they want to join. But he has to build from the get-go. It has to be through the draft. It had to be from the draft. And then the problem with us right now, we don't have a GM. That we also going to be hiring a GM, which I'm going to talk on another day on that, because I already got some guys I would like for us to bring in as GMs. So
the good thing is for you guys, though, that means a course correction, right? And so it's a leap in faith, but it gives you a chance to get right. And you don't really know what you're going to get until you get there. Look at the Rams with Les Snead and Jeff Fisher. You got a GM and a head coach, pulled off all these draft moves, and we were feeling good about the draft choices. And then, the product that we were putting out on the field wasn't good enough. So, a lot of Rams fans didn't feel very good about Les Snead after 5 years, but I think when you bring in Sean McVay, that can change the fortune. So it's tough when you're coming. I think the difficulty for you guys is, given the situation that you're in right now, it creates some desperation. The good thing is, by taking a chance on a new head coach, new GM, that gives you a chance to kind of reset course correction and figure out where you guys are going from there. And whether that's defense or whether that's, you look around the league trying to outscore people in what looks like it could be a pretty historic NFL year, there's reason for you guys to have some hope, man.
Yeah, and you just hit the nail on the head. You said pretty much change the course. There's a lot of people thinking that we should just rebuild, and I feel like, first off, we don't have the cap to rebuild. Second, we are too talented on paper right now to rebuild. Like I said, you have a Matt Ryan. You can't get rid of you cannot get rid of Matt Ryan right now because of his contract. And why would you want to get rid of somebody that good?
Yep.
Like that's like saying, like the Rams giving up on Jared Goff.
Right.
Like, let it play out. Let them, it's hard to find quarterbacks these days. They don't grow on trees. And you brought up Les Snead, he survived, when y'all fired Jeff Fisher. But when McVay came in, he's looking like a better GM. That just, that just sometimes is the nature of the beast. But with Thomas Dimitroff, he survived Mike Smith, and Dan Quinn came in. Yeah, we had our Super Bowl run in 2016. It looked good, but you start seeing the wheels fall off after the 2018 season. Because the 2018 season they say, okay, well, injuries, that was our excuse. 2019, well, we're not the team, we're not that good like we thought we were.
Right.
And here we are now in 2020, firing Quinn in 5 weeks into the season and getting rid of Thomas Dimitroff. And now we got to say, look at ourselves, okay, well, we're not 500 football team. That's what Arthur Blank said, the owner of the Atlanta Falcons. Yep. He wants a leader among men as a head coach. GM, same thing. Leader among men. Does that sounds like Brandon Staley?
I don't know that he's had a chance to be yet, right? I mean, this is a guy that's just now getting his first shot as a coordinator. Mm-hmm. In a coaching tree that's got Sean McVay at the top. The most experienced coach on that roster is John Bonamego, the new special teams coach that we just brought in. It's a really, really young staff. I think the question is Arthur Blank. I think that's really and whoever he taps to run the kind of GM and head coaching search. Does he want to follow that trend? Because there's risks that come with it. But there's also the potential for it to go really well. Look at what's going on in Cincinnati, right? You go in and get a guy like Zach Taylor, who's not a lot of experience as a coach, but think about it. He got his year in with McVay. He's got a plan. He got Cincinnati to buy in, and now he's got a quarterback in Joe Burrow. They've clearly changed course. The question is, how fast can they get on that highway now that they've got things going? Not a lot of expectations for 2020. But is that a team that can get right for 2021? If it is, that's the kind of thing where if you're Atlanta, and I know you guys can't base what you're doing based off of a 2021, but that's the kind of the trend that we're seeing around the NFL is teams going with these young guys and empowering them despite a lack of experience, right? In a way that you didn't see that 15 years ago in the NFL. Teams didn't hire these kind of guys with that little experience. Now it's kind of shocking when you see guys that, like a Staley, but maybe like Eric Bieniemy, right, with Kansas City, where it's like, why has this guy? I mean, we know why, but why has this guy not gotten a shot when you got guys like Zach Taylor and Sean McVay and all these other guys are getting their chance at a head coaching gig? So I don't know that Brandon Staley's been afforded the chance to be that kind of a leader as a coach. I don't know that he needs to be with the Rams, but yeah, the step up to what you guys are looking for would be a big one. I think it's going to be hard to answer that question until he gets there or whoever gets there, if it's somebody like Brandon Staley, to see how they answer that question.
Okay. All right. Well, like I said, I looked at the numbers and how y'all doing right now, as far as defense wise, and then I went back last year and looked at Denver. It's kind of hard. There's an outlier because it was their first year there, the first only year there. Sure. And then when he did Chicago, the linebacker core, he had, Khalil Mack, and then I forgot the guy's name the Georgia linebacker, I forgot his name. But
Leonard Floyd?
No, yeah, him, and then the linebacker that they got from Georgia. I forgot his name. They drafted him in the first round, I believe, back in 2018.
I don't know. We picked up Leonard Floyd from Chicago this offseason.
Yeah.
And he's obviously a Georgia product, but we also brought Justin Holla, who he had with Denver. So, if you want to get a sense of what kind of a defensive coordinator he'd be, and especially the Rams are going to be on some primetime games where I'm sure you and some of your listeners would be able to check out the Rams if they want to look into what kind of defensive coordinator. You'd be able to look at that linebacking group and see how he's doing with them. But at the same time, since that's not the strength of the team, you got to look at what he's doing with his best players. That's Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, and see how, and it's tough without watching the all 22, but look at how he uses his secondary because they've been so passive. And we'll have to see how they perform after the break, but those results are going to be more indicative of the job he's doing than what he's done so far.
Yeah. Roquan Smith is the name. Roquan Smith.
Roquan Smith, that's right.
Yeah, and Roquan Smith doing a good job out there in Chicago. What's good, Sports Live in ATL? He said, stopping by. He said, who is this? This is Joe McAtee. He's an expert writer for the Rams. Is it the Horn? What's the name of it? Beyond the Horn?
Beyond the Horns.
Beyond the Horns. Yep. All right. It's a Rams website that you can check out. And he also said maybe Morris can make a bid to stay if he keeps winning. Well, he got to make the playoffs. Arthur Blank already said that if he can win 11 games, hey, he got the job. But, we'll see, man. we'll just wait. We'll have to wait and see. But I highly unlikely in my opinion. All right.
Rare that you get an interim that gets the head coaching job, but Raheem Morris has a good resume. I wouldn't be surprised if he sticks around on that coaching staff. But look, the reality is, you guys fired your head coach and GM. That's a chance to start over fresh. Exactly. And I think anybody would be surprised if Raheem Morris is the head coach for you guys next year.
Exactly. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, that rarely happens for an interim to stay. You just got to start, because you got to start fresh. You don't want any. It's like when you clean house, you clean house. You don't leave nothing behind. You take your clothes, take everything that belongs with you. Get it out my house. All right. He said the Falcons finished 8-8 and missed the playoffs. Morris would deserve the shot. No, I don't think so, Dave. Man, like we're trying to have a winning culture here. All right, 8-8, yeah, that's 500, but no NFC team is making the playoffs this year with 8-8 record, unless they're in the NFC East. He said I wouldn't be surprised if Morris stays the head coach, because the Falcons in 8-8, at least that's positive. Yeah, it's positive. Like we said, he could probably stay as a defense coordinator, or he might be auditioning for another team to be a defensive coordinator for somebody else. But I just don't think Arthur Blank right now, man. He had enough. Enough is enough for him, and he's ready for a new voice in that locker room. All right. Offensive Brandon. He said offensive win championships. Come on, man. Don't start that mess, man. Like, these Brandon Bieniemy guys. All right, well, look, I got some offensive-minded head coaches I like, and I told you I don't have anything against Eric Bieniemy, but if we bring him in, they need to bring Wade Phillips as a defensive coordinator. That's just my opinion.
That'd be fun.
Exactly. Wade Phillips is a great defensive-minded coach. I just don't want us bringing in somebody, who just go focus on one side of the ball that we've been doing for years, and then we ignoring the defense. All right. Arthur Smith. Yeah, the heir to the FedEx throne. Yeah, I'm good on that, man. All right. We have a great shot to be 4-5 going into the bye. That's my focus right now. Yeah, I agree with you, David. We have a shot being 4-5 before the bye. But we got to see, man. We got to see if we can keep that same energy each game. All right. That's all I want us to do, just win. Just win, But hey, Brandon, I understand what you're saying, Arthur Smith, but I may do a video on Arthur Smith. I know Pound for Pound did one yesterday. But I'm looking at that Titans, the offensive line, and Derrick Henry pretty much putting the team on his back. How good this guy is if we keep him at 100. So I do my homework on Arthur Smith. Don't worry about that. And just make sure you check out my Twitter page. I listed all the coaches that I want, and y'all already know I'm a Don Martindale person. So, but Brandon Staley, he is Brandon Staley is on my list. So, all right, Joseph, man, appreciate you coming on, man. Once again, let everybody know who you are, where they can find you.
Yep, easiest way is BTH_Rams on Twitter, Instagram. That's where we're the most active. The site's beyondthehorns.com, but obviously we cover things mostly from a Rams perspective. We'll have some Falcon stuff up there from time to time. Like I mentioned, maybe some Todd Gurley stuff. Definitely looking at that Georgia defense for some prospects. But yeah, that's the easiest way is to get at us, Twitter and Instagram. And obviously in the years to come when the Rams and Falcons meet, be sure to holla at us.
Oh, yeah, we got you, man. Like, look, don't ever be a stranger. Just, always stay, follow FILA Sports Podcast. Follow me at The Man Called Dunn on Twitter. So I appreciate you coming on, man.
Anytime, man.
All right. Everybody who listens to a later time, make sure y'all hit us up in the comment section. Let us know what y'all think about Brandon Staley, the defensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams, and what y'all think if he is hired as Atlanta Falcons. What you think if that's a good hire or if that's a safe hire? I'm sorry, I'm used to saying fire because of Dan Quinn. Or or should we not look into him? Let us know what y'all think in the comment section. But if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Also hit that like button. Share this content out with other Atlanta sports fanatics. And everybody in the chat, appreciate y'all joining us. As always, come holla. at your hometown sports podcast. I'll see y'all later. I'm about to do my Falcons Fire Day prediction. Stay tuned for that. Y'all have a great Friday. I'm out.